Welcome back to What Would It Cost? On today's episode, we're excited to talk all things Florida as Spark Financial Group is expanding to the USA. Today, we're here with our operator and partner, Niels Dekker.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Good. Welcome. We're happy to have you on.
Thank you.
AKA Wheels.
Gonna be biking down to Florida.
Yeah,
Tell me
exactly.
the story.
January 31st, he's going to be hopping on his bike with the winter tires and the little trailer in the back, making his way down.
Change the tires halfway down.
Yeah.
Good to go.
No, but we're excited because you're our first staff member on the podcast as well. So that's pretty cool. And it's a really fun one for us because we're talking our expansion to the US. They're going to be heading off.
So not only is this exciting for us because we're expanding into the US and south of the border, and this being the first flagship joint venture that we're doing, but it was excited to see you vertically integrate and move your way up with the company and take on the operations director and make partner in the firm, right? And to see you day in, day out, just come in with that enthusiasm and that energy to be, fired up about the overall project keeps us, at a real high energy pace and feeling good about it. Bring us into what that experience has looked like for you and how you've had, your challenges and your obstacles put in the way, but what that starts to look like for also everyone in Toronto, Ontario, and Canada that's going to be able to benefit from what we're building out down there in regards to the consulting arm and being able to facilitate all of their real estate needs, not just the transaction through the financing, right?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing was, before coming on board was having that vision that you guys had and the post that was up about, I think at that point was about Sarasota. And when I came into the office, I said, this has been a conversation that was already going on in our household and in my family's household.
Yeah.
And how that all aligned. So that was beautiful. And the last 8 months now it's been, it's been great to see, what you guys have created in the office here in Toronto, and to see what the culture has been like and what you've been kind of forming, and now to have a taste of that and bring that down there, I think was super important along the way versus, starting from scratch. And then, culture is not something you put on a piece of paper, it's more of an experience. So I think that was actually super beneficial and important to now have experienced that and bring that and roll that out come February. And I mean, it's already starting now as we're looking for the positions that we need to fill. And I think that the next step now, which is we're getting so close to actually bring that full picture. Like I'm having conversations with people here now of, what does it look like? And when we're speaking on like our concierge vision that we have for people, right away, it's like, oh my God, that will relieve so much pressure.
Right.
Which
is what we loved, the idea of attaching to the brokerage from the jump, right? Is that whole process in regards to, okay, where do I start? Where do I finish? Who's there to walk me throughout the process? And really with that white glove service that we always, pride ourselves on being able to provide. So talk to them a little bit more about what that starts to look like. So I call the Spark line and you pick up. From that end, and it's like, okay, I want to buy in Florida, I want to make an investment and get some capital moving down there and build out an asset portfolio south of the border. How do I do that?
Yeah, so however that comes in, I think the process that we're going to approach is essentially it'll be an onboarding process where we're going to have a look at what is it that you need that we can help you with. So for everyone that looks different, it could look like that they have a cousin that does the real estate, or they have someone, a friend of a friend that does title insurance, or they have someone that does, let's say, IT setup, whatever it is. We ask what it is that you need, and then we look to fill the gaps. And it might be that they need all of those things.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of it, is that we work with everyone to look at what it is they need and fill the gaps on how we can support them. So that process, that onboarding process, will allow for that. And essentially it becomes a custom kind of service, a white glove service that we can provide. And I think it's beautiful because it goes beyond just saying, we worry about the mortgage, go figure out the rest, come back to us and we'll get you set up there. No, we're saying, let's bring you to the finish line with all of our partners and make this process an easier one for you. And I think that's the exciting part about it. And all of our backgrounds, we have hospitality background. So for us, that's second nature, and I think that will go such a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've already seen so much success from it here in the sense that we, tie in our buyers with realtors if need be, lawyers, insurance agents, all that, even movers, So that's why we're really excited to bring that same experience. Like you said, it's not just, okay, we're here for you for the mortgage, go figure everything else out. It's stressful. It's already stressful here when people are buying and they live here. Now you're moving to another country, you're buying a vacation home in another country, whatever it may be. It's stressful because you don't know exactly how to navigate.
Yeah, and for some, even a deterrent. And people that are delaying it or are not wanting to do it.
For most, it's a deterrent.
Because I've had a couple of clients we spoke with. They said they gave up on it because I don't know what, one person was saying this, one person was saying that. I had to refinance here and buy there. And they were lost. And it was a deterrent.
Yeah. Well, you look at like the tax strategy that you got to move down there with the immigration lawyer, right? Finding out and figuring out about that climate, the ecosystem there, it's different. It's not rocket science, but there's a lot of moving parts. So to be able to help navigate them through that and essentially be the one-stop shop that allows them to get down there, I think that's really, really going to empower a lot of the investors that are here, a lot of people that want a vacation property. Because look at the cap rates. We're looking at a 2.5, 3.5 cap here. That's good right now. Down there's some property management companies that are showing stats and data that are at like 25, 30.
Exactly.
So it's even from an investment standpoint, it's a no-brainer that the yields are much better down there.
Well, for sure.
So why wouldn't you place your capital?
Exactly. The density is amazing.
Math, right?
The density is amazing as well. Like, you look here, it's a city and a city there. I feel like, from a Miami to Fort Lauderdale, it's almost like a province to a province. Here we're nearing 38 million for the population of all of Canada. There they're nearing 23 million for the population for the state. So and to go to the next point about the cap rates, it's like here, it's like, is it worth it buying that investment property to really try and stretch out how much you could make versus down there where we're seeing higher cap rates and vacation homes as well. Airbnb.
Big
Plus,
time.
Seasonal depression's a real thing, boys.
Look at the weather right now. I'd love to be down there with Niels.
Vitamin D.
Everyone feels so bad he's moving away. It's like, hey, bro, there's palm trees and a beach down there too,
But on that point, I think some of the stats, it's like the home prices, and we were going to get into this, but it's around 40% higher as you look at Canada as a whole versus the States. And I think one of the biggest things that we forget is that the majority of Canadians live along that border of the Canadian to the US border. So essentially, you got one of the biggest countries in the world, but all of its population is kind of going only towards one area of the country and driving the prices up. And in the States, that's much different. You have landmass that's much more livable, and the climate is great in most areas for the most part. There's cold parts, obviously, but so I think that makes a big change, and home prices are obviously going to be different. There's huge opportunity there.
It's a great point you make, because here funny you mentioned that, because I was actually reading about it the other day. It's actually 50% of Canadians live below, almost like a Timmins type area, and 75% of Canada's mortgages are in the Ontario market. So it's like, you're looking at new developments. It's great, we're expanding, but the prices are raising because everybody's trying to build so many houses as they can in that same area, because again, you don't want to be living past that 50% line. Whereas down there, like you said, there's cold places, but it's desirable along the entire coast, along the entire state.
The density is very concentrated here, where the land mass over there, like we always speak of, 30 million in Canada, 30 million in Florida. Take the whole country, jam it into that state. It's 10x, literally. You know what I mean? So that's exciting alone, right?
So give us, a lot of people giving that, that the deterrent of they're just lost to how to navigate this. What are some differences, but also comparisons to our mortgages? Because I found it interesting when we were doing some research. So speak on that a little bit.
On the mortgages, I think one of the biggest things that you should actually determine is that, will this be a home that you're going to live at, or that, let's say, you're there for 6 months and you're not creating an income from?
Right.
Because that will be the biggest thing. Will this be your home, or will this be a rental income?
Right.
And from there, you'll look at what your down payment is going to be. Typically, if you're not renting it out, you can do as little as 20% down. If you are going to be renting it out, it could be anywhere between 25 to 35% that is asked to be put down, depending on what lender you is suited for you.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest thing. Closing closing costs are much different in the US compared to here. Here we tend to have kind of like a structured way that it's going to go and not too many surprises. In the States, it's much more of a negotiation. So having a good realtor on your team is going to be very key. And it's going to be obviously depending on what type of position. If someone's trying to look to offload the property,
Right.
or if they're not, it's a big negotiation there, the closing part. And then when it comes down to income, documents, your taxes, etc., it's not too much different on that side of things. But your down payment is a big one, and depending what type of property you're going to be buying down there and what you're using it for.
Right. And also, too, the main thing, mortgage agents here, loan officers there.
Yeah, it's
Even
different.
terminology is a little different.
Yeah, different terms and structures and the way that the governing bodies work there with licenses. But, for the most part, even with like taxes, when you're talking about self-employed income there, and you talk about your 1099s, here you talk about your T4s, and then you're talking about your W8. So I think the biggest advantage is going to that we're going to have on our side as well is that you have we have a team that understands the Canadian side of things,
right,
and can understand the language. Let's say when you're speaking to a Canadian that is looking to move down there, and educate to say, hey, okay, you're going to need this, and that's going to be
exactly.
They
can compare, okay, your T4 is this document, your T1 is
That's
this.
such a big piece.
Yeah.
Such a big piece.
What I love too is that, we look at here and it's awesome that we think, we have 75 plus lenders that we deal with, but really it's only 5 main banks. What I love about there is that they have over 1,000 plus lenders, and there's not just 5 main banks. There's hundreds of main banks you could go and get that AAA product.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome too, is that giving that diversity in the type of product, making it not as difficult as it may be here to get, that exact mortgage you want, where again, some people are like, my only option was private because someone didn't guide them properly.
Yeah, I think that there a broker plays even a bigger role.
Yeah.
Because there's other options, and it's similar. I thought about this as well here. Like with Canadians, it's still important. Get a second opinion.
Right.
Ask a broker for an opinion. The bank is looking out for their products.
Right.
And yes, some people might have long-term relationships with them, and it's perhaps easier on that side, but a broker can always give an insight on what's best for you and options, and then especially in the States because there's so many lenders and products out there. So
yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. And to go to your point, I think that is true. I think it's a lot more like here we're broker heavy now. I think we're at that 55% of Canadians use a broker for their mortgages, but I think over in the US that's a lot higher. I think that's like your main option because again, you have 1,000 plus products. How are you going to navigate what's the best one to go for?
So we're going to cut for a commercial break, and when we get back, Niels is going to talk about everything to do with visas and what it looks like to get you down there as a permanent resident.
Are your refinancing needs not being heard? Sparks Mortgage Agents are here to listen. Michael is obviously stating that mortgage refinancing can often be confusing for applicants. Nick says that finding the best rate isn't always transparent, like water. Michael agrees. Nick hears him loud and clear. SparkFinancialGroup.ca guides you to renegotiate your existing mortgage at the best rate. Spark Financial Group, where finance creates freedom.
Welcome back to What Would It Cost? On this episode, we're talking all things Florida with Niels Dekker. So Niels, before we cut to the break, we're going to get into visas and what that temporary or permanent residency looks like. So take us through that process and what it means.
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest thing is like the question, can anyone buy in Florida, or what do I need a certain status?
Right.
And when you cross the border, automatically you are there as a visitor status. And the term that we often hear is you're the snowbird.
Right.
Especially if you're looking to do a longer vacation. So the snowbird status is that visitor status. And you can stay in the States for 6 months in a stretch from 0 to 6 months, or you can spread out all those amount of days or different type of stays on a 12-month calendar. So when you enter, that's when your calendar starts, and then you can stay for cumulatively for 6 months or one stretch all through 6 months. So that's important to know. So if you're going in as, let's call it now, your snowbird status, when you're buying, and you're looking to apply for a mortgage. And the most important thing is that if you do not want to rent it out and you want this to be a vacation home, that will be important to then that will be a question that's actually going to come up when you're looking for a mortgage. This will be a home, but I'm not going to create income of it, so it won't be a rental income.
Right.
And then for the second part is that if you do look to create a rental income, then it will fall into a different down payment for that application to mortgage status.
Right.
So from that piece, if you're not going to be doing snowbird status, then it really becomes a simple question of, is the visa that you're looking to obtain going to be an immigrant status or non-immigrant?
Right.
And essentially what that means is that your immigrant status is that you're saying, I have the intention to stay here for a longer period. So that could be multiple years. And the non-immigrant visa, that is saying that my intention is I will be here, but I have an intention to leave at some point.
Right.
Time frames can be different for both, but essentially it's just saying what is your intention on being here. And when you dive into the visa process, at first when you look at it, it looks like there could be a visa with literally A, B, C, D, E, all the way down to Z. But some of the main visas that we've come across when we went through this process is your E visa, which is typically for entrepreneurs, for skilled people, so for specific positions that they have an extra skill that American might not have. And even in your E visas, you have, I think, up to 5, E1 up to E5.
Right.
Another popular visa is your L visa, which is intra-company. So let's say your company you work for here has a company already in the States, and they're looking to send you down. So that's an intra-company example. Other popular visas are your O visa, which is again a special needs type of position. But there's just many types, and I think it's important for someone to just look at what fits best for them. But it comes back to the basics of, is this an immigrant or non-immigrant? Are you staying long-term or not?
Exactly. And that's the whole point of that concierge service again, is that you're really helping them, guide them, so you understand, okay, this is the kind of mortgage I got to get for this client because they're looking for this visa or that visa.
Yeah. And then in that step, we would have access to an immigration lawyer that can guide you through that process. But yeah, you really look at, what's my intention to go to the States? Will I stay here longer or not? And and it's always, I think, is one of the biggest things for people where like, could I stay there longer? How can I stay there longer?
Right.
And I think it comes back to the really basics of it is, what value will you be able to add by going down there?
Right.
And I think the bigger value that you can bring with perhaps your skills or value in economically, so investment wise, the more powerful that is, the easier your visa process is going to be too. So, yeah.
Very good. So downtown Fort Lauderdale, Las Olas, we plant the flag, the first flag south of the border for Spark Financial Group. How are you feeling in regards to being the guy that's heading it off, and that, yes, has the platform that you have to bounce off of and the team that you have to work with, but how does that start to look like for you, for your wife Julia, for your son, your newly born son, right? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, a nice loaded questions.
Yeah.
But I think we took our trip down, our company orientation, to understand the lay of the land at the beginning of November. But it was great, and it reaffirmed again when we just went back recently with the family to look for a place to stay. When you're mentioning our office is going to be down on Las Olas on the main strip, and people are like, okay, you're right in the middle, a beautiful spot. So I think in general, Toronto has got that amazing vibe too of people wanting to do good stuff, to create good business, and it's almost like an 10x over there. People are excited. They're upbeat. They want to make something happen, and the atmosphere was great. And I think that when we were all there, we experienced that, and it's beautiful. But yeah, now for the family, it's exciting as well. I mean, I grew up in a different country already, so I already have a bit of nomad to me, and for my wife Julia, it's a little bit different. She's a little bit more, she's been in the same place. And so that adjustment will be, overall, it's exciting, and we're ready for it, and looking forward to it.
So now February's arrived. We're down there. We're open. What's that look like with staff and the ecosystem? What are the plans for when you open the doors?
Yeah, I mean, it's all exciting to talk about going down there, but when those doors open for business, we better be ready. And where we're at right now is having an underwriter, and there they call them processors, to be able to support all the files that come in. Mm-hmm. So that will be all set, and based on our last trip and our connections that we've had as a team and others around us, having the right people in place, if that's the title company, insurance, the realtors, all those connections are ready to go, and people are excited to work with us. So, we're ready to open those doors and bring those files home. So we're excited.
Yeah, like I feel what we've created and what we've started here, and the platform and foundation that we have, we're sending you down with over there. So not only the underwriter, but the marketing coordinator that our marketing department here is going to work with, the assistant manager that you're going to have help you build out what you got to build out, and then the operators flying in steady from Toronto. We're going to, the underwriters there are going to consult the processor there. They're coming down ongoing. Mikey's coming down for the operations. I'm coming down for sales and marketing with the boys, right? So it's just the amount of support and the foundation that you have there, and then on top of that, the extension of the ecosystem that you were talking about. So it's like we couldn't be more geared up and ready,
exactly.
Right?
Between title insurance, the attorneys down there, we've already made connections with realtors, home inspectors. So I'm confident that as soon as that door opens, it's gonna be like servicing our clients here.
I think the biggest thing is it gets mentioned is that we can look like a Ferrari on the outside, but if we don't have that engine ready on the hood, then we're gonna have our socks down to our ankles, and we don't want that.
Exactly. Right now it's roaring, baby.
You got it.
Yeah, all exciting stuff, and we look forward to you keeping in touch with us through all of our social platforms and our website, and follow us. Call us, DM us, email us. We're always here for you guys. We want to thank you, and we're very grateful. Yeah, we appreciate you, and keep following along on this journey, because it's going to just get more and more and more exciting.
Coming up on What Would It Cost?
Like when people hear like the word AI, they're like, hey, like they don't really know what it is. They think robots, they think like magic. Mm-hmm. But all it is just data, and then you run it through like a computer, like a machine with like mathematical models, and it gives you like specific insights.
Right.
So if you think about it with like, for example, with realtors, there's a company that actually tried to do this. They didn't do too well, but you could pretty much put in a bunch of factors. So for example, how big the home is in square foot, how many bathrooms does it have, how many beds does it have, the location, all of that information, you feed it through a machine learning model, and it will tell you an approximation of the value of the home.